We are joined, as we often are on a Friday. Robert Taylor, the journalist and political commentator, is with us. Afternoon to you, Robert.
Good afternoon, Ian.
Nice to have you with us. Well, let's remind ourselves then, as we get into this then, of what politicians have been saying as we talk about this. Half of the claims for Britain's benefits will be down to poor health by the end of the decade. This was the government that was going to solve the crisis, of course, of getting Britain back to work. Here's Wes Streeting, the Health Secretary, on that very point.
Our reforms are not only focused on delivering our health mission, also moving the dial on our growth mission too. We will take the best of the NHS to the rest of the NHS, get sick Brits back to health and back to work. That's the difference a Labour government makes.
That is Wes Streeting, the Health Secretary, getting Britain back to work. It's not looking very good, Robert, to begin with.
Well, no, it certainly isn't. I mean, apparently 1 in 10 Brits of working age, 1 in 10 will be on some kind of sickness benefit very soon.
Yeah. Could
already be happening. And this, of course, is a massive surge in sickness benefits since COVID. Now, forgive me, but there's nothing about a pandemic that really ended 2-3 years ago that should make people off sick now. Yes, some people will talk about long COVID. I'm sure there is a tiny minority of people for whom that's still an issue.
Yep.
But what we've done here is we have conditioned people in thinking they have the right to stay at home and get something for nothing from the rest of us. And it's costing, you said 100 billion. Now, that is nearly the education budget of this country. Every year will be spent on keeping people at home and just saying to them, all right, you're too ill to work. It's disgraceful and it's unsustainable.
But so presumably then, if this is about... Because, I mean, I have to assume that this is about mental health issues rather than physical. I mean, it's quite hard to, or harder, to just sort of fake, you can't really go to the doctors and say, I think I've got tuberculosis, write me a letter. I don't think that works. But mental health issues are, by definition, a little trickier. But even there... I often hear people say, I genuinely have a problem with mental health. I can't get any recognition from it.
Yeah, well, genuine mental health problems are just diabolical. I've been fortunate. I've never suffered anything like that, but I've met people who have. It is totally debilitating. But this is a small minority of people. What is it in the post-COVID world, just the last 2 years, that has meant that anxiety has gone off the scale? I cannot see anything that should have made that happen other than we are conditioning people into thinking that their rights to stay off work are more important than their responsibilities to help society function. It's no wonder, by the way, that we have, 750,000 people coming in immigration every year because they have to do the jobs that Brits apparently are too sick to do.
And I wonder whether we are likely, over the course of the next few years, to see this, will there be a miraculous reversal of this? And then in 2 years' time, the government will go, actually, it's changed. People are going back to work. We're not as sick as we thought we were.
There has to be a change. I mean, this is unsustainable, unsupportable. It can't go on forever, or you get to the stage in 20 years' time where half of Brits of working age are off sick because of stress-related conditions. So it has to end. What I heard there from Wes Streeting, but I have zero faith in this government delivering.
Yeah, same here. We'll continue to take calls on that. Why is everyone sick and what the heck is wrong with them is our question here. 0344 499 1000. Let's move to this disturbing story. Online grooming cases are rising and one social media platform is said to be responsible.
The more oranges we anthropomorphize, the more deer we become. The more deer we become, the more friends we find. The more friends we find, the more our friends find us. The more our friends find us, the more love we feel. The more love we feel, the more love we give.
More love we feel. That's the Snapchat, one of their many promotional ads. But police have revealed, Robert, that Snapchat accounted for 48% of child grooming cases recorded last year, and that's an increase since 2017 of about 20%. Lots of people who've got kids who use... A friend of mine simply cannot believe that this Snapchat thing exists. He cannot believe it because he's seen with his own eyes of the areas that you can find yourself sucked into by being part of this, and it's not just a one straightforward thing like Twitter. There's much more involved in it. But there it is. I mean, in a way, it's not that surprising that social media is responsible, whether it's Snapchat or anybody else.
Yeah, apparently with Snapchat, it's something to do with the ease of adding people to online discussions, and people, of course, including very impressionable children. The youngest victim, I understand, in this story was a 5-year-old boy who had been groomed on Snapchat. And it's also something to do with disappearing messages that makes it easier for paedophiles to go unnoticed. I know that Meta is not my favourite social media outfit at all. But anyway, they've done a lot of work to try and ensure safety online while protecting free speech and while protecting the privacy of people who are just lawfully messaging each other. We don't want everything to be spied on. This is the danger. This is the trouble. If we go too far and have government spying on people to catch paedophiles, then that spying we can have government overreach, as we saw during COVID, where there was overreach and people who are lockdown skeptics were suddenly found that their YouTube videos weren't getting any notice because the algorithms had been changed. So there can be overreach in this.
What is a 5-year-old doing on Snap? I mean, at 5, you can only sort of just about read a bit and, you know, write your name and a couple of other words. I mean, how would a 5-year-old end up on Snapchat?
Well, the mind boggles. And also, of course, the other area here, therefore, is parental responsibility. I mean, we can't just outsource it all to the government and to the social media companies. Of course, they've got to play a role. Snapchat, I'd love to hear what they're saying about this now. But parents have to play a role as well. And I agree with you. What on earth is a 5-year-old doing on Snapchat? Where are the parents?
But of course, it is designed because it's a certain demographic. It's mostly younger people that are on Snapchat. But you know there will be older people, some because they're a bit weird and others because they have terrible intent. But it exists clearly to be cool, and to make it cool and make it different, then makers and designers have got to do stuff like the disappearing message. I think my mate told me that there's a thing where you can put your photos in like a vault or something, so no one's ever going to find this kind of stuff, you know. There's all sorts of little bits of mischief goes on. I think it's perhaps no great revelation that we learn this today. The question is, how do we stop it happening?
Well, I think it's got to be those three elements together, government, social media companies and parents together. But I do hope we don't throw the baby out with the bathwater on this. Free speech, free messaging. We don't all want every message, however innocuous, to be spied on by government agencies. So we've got to find that balance. And it's a very... I don't necessarily trust the authorities to get that balance right. It'd be very easy to tip over into suddenly spying on everyone's messaging and to find the odd paedophile. Yeah,
you're absolutely spot on. And that is always going to be the danger of trying to, you know, closing things down is not really the direction we want to travel. Even if we hate the look of the thing or find it inane or juvenile, you know, that isn't how we're meant to rumble in a free society. But something clearly needs to be done on this. We'll talk some more in a moment. Robert Taylor is with us, the journalist and commentator here on Talk.